Is all set to hold its parliamentary elections tomorrow. The polls will be held under strict health guidelines on account of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the results could have far-reaching impact on Sri Lanka's politics for years to come. Let's first introduce the key players in this battle. The Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, or the SLPP, led by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, is widely expected to obtain a simple majority. The party has the backing of Sri Lanka's Sinhala Buddhist majority and has been campaigning with nationalistic fervour. An SLPP victory would seal the dominance of the Rajapaksa clan, with Gotabaya Rajapaksa as president and Mahinda Rajapaksa as prime minister. Now, the SLPP's only viable challenge comes from the Samagijana Jana Balawagaya, or the SJB. It is led by leader of opposition Sajith Premadasa and is composed of breakaways from Sri Lanka's oldest party, United National Party. The SJB has made a right-of-centre pitch during campaigning and has focused on rural areas and poverty elevation. It has also promised to not sell off state assets, a clear retort to SLPP's pro-China stance. There are 225 seats in Sri Lanka's parliament, which is modelled on the British parliamentary system. The party or coalition that secures a simple majority of 113 seats will form Sri Lanka's next government. In the 2015 parliamentary election, no single party was able to secure a majority. The Rajapaksas are unlikely to be satisfied with a simple majority. The SLPP wants to amend the Sri Lankan constitution and expand presidential powers. This requires a two-thirds majority or a supermajority of 150 seats out of 225. Now, the proposed constitutional amendment has raised red flags among right groups in the island. It aims to remove presidential term limits and bring the police, the judiciary and the election body under the president's authority. Now, this will be South Asia's first major election since the beginning of the pandemic, and so President Rajapaksa's handling of the outbreak will be a key election issue. The voters will also get to choose between the pro-China SLPP and the China skeptic SJB. The Rajapaksas are known for their hawkish attitude towards the West and cozying up to Beijing. As always, the issue of Tamil reconciliation will be a major factor for the country's largest minority group. Many Tamils are also calling for an international probe into war crimes during the civil war, something that President Rajapaksa has completely ruled out. National security has also become a big talking point in Sri Lanka after the Easter bombings in 2019. Joining us now on this broadcast is Rashika Jayakodi, journalist and political commentator, joining us live from Colombo. Rashika, welcome to WION. And this will be, South Asia's first election, so all eyes are on Sri Lanka at the moment. First of all, let's talk about this election. How will it be held? How will the authorities ensure safety for anyone participating in these elections, because they are being held under the shadow of the pandemic? Right, we'll try and reconnect with Rashika in just a bit, but Sri Lanka is all set to hold its parliamentary elections tomorrow. The polls will be held under strict health guidelines on account of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the results could have far-reaching impact on Sri Lanka's politics for years to come. The SLPP, led by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, is widely expected to obtain a simple majority. However, the Rajapaksa brothers and their party is aiming for a complete majority, a two-thirds majority, so that they can bring constitutional changes. The party has the backing of Sri Lanka's Sinhala Buddhist majority and has been campaigning with nationalistic fervour. SLPP victory would seal the dominance of the Rajapaksa clan, with Gotabaya Rajapaksa as president and Mahinda Rajapaksa as prime minister. Right, let's rejoin Rashika Jayakori, who's on this broadcast. Yes, Rashika, you were going ahead with the details of how authorities will ensure safety for all the voters.
As you correctly said, this is South Asia's first major election after the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And a number of measures have been adopted by the Sri Lankan authorities to ensure the safety of voters who will be going into, walking into polling tomorrow. The police have deployed 69,000 officers across the country to make sure that the social distancing measures are practiced by the voting population. At the same time, health authorities have deployed nearly 8,000 health workers to ensure these health and safety standards. And the election, this is an unprecedented experience for Sri Lankans, because we've held elections during the time of war, but we've never held an election under these circumstances, while the country is fighting a pandemic. So it's going to be a fresh experience. The campaign period was, exceeded 3 months. We've never seen such a long election campaign. So it's going to be a very new experience for all Sri Lankans.
You mentioned the long election campaign period. Now, what has that changed on the ground? Are the Rajapaksas expected to win? Is the opposition united to take on the Rajapaksas?
I represent the Samagi Jana Balawega, which is the main opposition party. So from our perspective, what we see is that the government actually, the government had momentum when they dissolved parliament in March. At that time, Sri Lanka was not fighting this pandemic, and we had one Chinese tourist who was infected with COVID-19, and she recovered and she was discharged from hospital. Then the government, the president, dissolved parliament on March 2nd, and he announced a parliamentary election. But on March 11th, Sri Lanka identified its first patient, COVID-19 patient in the country, and there was a new cluster after that. After that, there was a strong public outcry to lock down the country and ensure that no one gets infected with COVID-19. But the government kept on running the country until the closure of the nomination period, because the government was hell-bent on securing its power, irrespective of the impact of this pandemic.
So are you saying the government put elections before people's health?
Of course, and had the government closed the airports in February, because in Parliament our leader, Mr. Sajith Premadasa, told the government very clearly to close down the country, to close down the airports toward the end in February, so that Sri Lanka will be safe. But unfortunately, the government didn't take his advice. The government went on, they kept the airport, they kept the country running until the closure of nominations. Because of that, the pandemic came to this level. We know Sri Lanka is relatively better compared to other countries in this part of the world. But still, we would have been able to minimize this impact had we adopted timely measures to prevent the pandemic.
Now,
so because of that,
Rashika, reports suggest whatever we are gathering here in Beyond, that Rajapaksa camp is eyeing simple majority. But not only that, they want a 2/3 majority to bring in constitutional changes. First of all, is the opposition confident that they can beat the Rajapaksas? And what are the constitutional changes that the Rajapaksas want to bring in? And how are they different from the current scenario in Sri Lanka? The Premadasa camp has also said that it will not sell any state assets. Is that a concern that the Rajapaksas would do if they come back with a 2/3 majority?
Of course, because the Rajapaksas have now they have urged the public to give them a 2/3 majority. But the Rajapaksas had 2/3 majority during the period between 2010 and 2015. And what did they do? They introduced a constitutional amendment to ensure that Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa could govern the country, could be the president of the country, irrespective of, earlier there were 2-term limit for the president, and the Rajapaksas lifted that using their 2/3 majority in parliament in 2011. So this time, they are trying to repeal the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which introduced independent commissions. Thanks to the independent commissions, our judiciary has become relatively independent. Our public service has become relatively independent. Our police service has become relatively independent. And the Rajapaksas now want to reverse all these pro-democratic measures and ensure their authority on the entire state machinery. And that's why they are asking for a two-thirds majority. But unfortunately, people are dissatisfied with the performance of the government. People are dissatisfied with the manner in which the government controlled the government handled the pandemic, especially the action to keep the country running until the closure of the nomination period. People are angry, and
right.
At the same time, yes, our death rate remains low thanks to the efforts of our health sector and the security forces. But the government did nothing. The government.
Rashika, we're running out of time in this segment. I want to ask you a very quick question. Is there a concern among Sri Lankan people about the growing Chinese influence in the country? Very quickly, please.
Well, this government came to power pledging that no foreign forces will be able to interfere with Sri Lanka's affairs and Sri Lanka's economy. They were very critical about the MCC agreement with the US, and also they were very critical about other activities with foreign governments. And they said Sri Lanka's interests will be protected.
Right.
But from what we see right now, the government is going back on their promise, and they have, they remain indecisive about the MCC agreement. They remain indecisive about other deals with foreign governments. So because of that, people are fearful that this government will go back on their promises
right.
and reverse their stance.
Right, Rashika, I'm really sorry we're running out of time. Concerned. I appreciate you joining us on Beyond. And, entire South Asia will have its eyes on Sri Lanka because it's the first major elections being held in the region in the shadow of the pandemic.